One of the most powerful features of O-Calc Pro is the way it can be integrated in with your business processes and your data flow within your company, and actually, through the plugin architecture that implements, actually automate tasks that might manually be performed otherwise to reduce errors. So let's see an example of this, and this is a plugin that we provide the source code for called Slack integration. You can use it as a starting point or just look at it to see how it works. But under my Manage Plugins section, if I have my Slack integration plugin enabled, you'll see what I get is a menu item that lets me send messages to Slack, and these messages are configurable by me. So if I go under my settings section, I can see my messages, and these are the ones that I've set up. I have two that are worthwhile. One is I'm working on a poll, in which case it sends my username is working on and then the poll ID. And you will notice this tokenization structure. This is exactly the same structure that you see when you set up the default file names, when you set up reports in Excel, and so on and so forth. We use this all the time. And the API to allow you to do this is exposed. So this is actually all just done with one line of code. So I have one message that says I'm working on a poll, and I have a message that says I'm finished with the poll, and I can communicate this to people in my work group, even if we're spread around the country, using the Slack API. So for those that aren't familiar with Slack, it's a cloud-based messaging and workflow management program, and it's pretty straightforward. It basically lets me send messages and get push notifications from the Slack server. Setting it up straightforward. After the plugin is hooked up, I register for a Slack account. It gives me a username and password. I then go to api.slack.com and go to incoming webhooks and tell it that I want to set up incoming webhooks. And what it'll do, after I pick a channel, so I'll pick the channel poll activity, add incoming webhooks, and you see it gives me a URL that I can cut and copy and paste. So I copy that URL. I go over to O-Calc, and I only have to do this once. In my settings, in my URI with access tokens, I paste in that same URL, and now we're good to go. Obviously, I filled in my username and password also. So let's take a look at how this works. If I go and I'll pick up a poll here. All right, and so here's a poll, and I notice that it needs modification, and I want to alert other people on my team that I'm taking care of this, so maybe they don't have to. I just go to Tools, Slack, Working On, and you see here a message popped up in the lower left because Slack is running in the web browser. But if I actually go to Slack, it actually synthesized a message that says Armour is working on, and it tells me the poll number. Actually, it's this one. Armour is working on the poll number, blah, blah, blah. So it went and got my name using the username token. It went and got the poll ID using the poll ID token. It synthesized this message, and it posted the message to everybody on my team telling them that I'm working on this poll. Now let's imagine that I go back to here, and I'm done. I did whatever I needed to do. I've saved the poll back again. I go to Slack, and I say I'm finished with it. Again, a message pops up down here. And if I go back to my Slack page, it says Armour is finished with it. So I started working with it at 7:59. I ended at 8 a.m. And these messages can be pretty complex. And I could also change this plugin, since the source code is available to me, to more enforce, for example, some sort of workflow. Like, for example, it would not allow me to do any edits to the poll until I had sent the message that I'm working on something, and then once I said I was done with it, it would mark it as now no longer editable. So, that's sort of a way you could get some sort of source control, and obviously the same integration technique could be used to hook up to GitHub, could be used to hook up to practically any service that basically makes O-Calc become part of your workflow. And so rather than being a standalone application, really the plugin architecture of O-Calc is super powerful in that it lets you control the way O-Calc works and control the way O-Calc communicates what it's doing and what the users are doing to other components of your workflow management system.